Hello and welcome. My name is Zafar Iqbal, and you are watching the Mojo Story. In a bid to restore peace in Manipur, which has been on the edge and has been violence hit, the center has held a crucial meeting with representatives of both the communities, the Meitei community as well as the Kuki community. Now, these representatives sat in Delhi and they held talks. This was a meeting to build trust and to promote reconciliation. The discussions were attended by, of course, civil society groups from both the sides and were mediated by former IB Special Director AK Mishra. Now, the meeting, according to reports, focused on law and order and finding a long term roadmap to normalcy. Is the ice finally breaking in that state? To get a sense of the situation, we're joined by two special guests. We're joined by uh, Dr. Seram Rojesh. Welcome to Mojo Story. He represents the Meaty Voice, and we're also joined by Selin Hopkin, KNO spokesperson. Welcome to Mojo Story, Selin. If I may start with you, Selin, how do you see this meeting? We know the state has been on edge for almost 2 years now, with casualties, widespread displacement of people. Do you think the ice is finally breaking and we see a glimmer of hope for a way forward now?
Yes, one has to, be optimistic in life because there's enough problems all over the world. And it's unfortunate that we are in that similar predicament. And it's something that is not desired by anybody, I would, imagine to want to live together with one another. And any conciliatory move, such as was planned today, whether it's from the government or from the CSOs, I think should be welcomed. And because at the end of the day, what must be foremost is humanity. And there are people suffering, particularly the internally displaced people. And those people are innocent, and it's the politics of the region that seems to be driving a wedge uh, among the people, and the innocent populace is bearing the brunt of it all. Now, as far as I believe, anything that pertains to a conciliatory move, especially if it is initiated by the government, because the government is responsible at the end of the day, because we are all in the same country, we are citizens of the same nation, and that I was hoping something positive would come out of today's meeting. Was waiting with bated breath, because it's almost 2 years now since we've had to deal with the kind of unfortunate problems. One would like to see an end to all this, and people start to live normal lives. Now, what surprised me was that I came across a news item. It reads, opinion: Biren Singh's shadow looms large in Kokomi's rejection of Home Ministry talks. I was under the impression that Kokomi, a civil society organization, was also looking forward to resolution of problems. But when I went through this article, the narrative of illegal immigrants, narco terrorism, all this feature very heavily, and I don't know how one should deal with those kinds of allegations or narratives, because on the one hand, I believe these allegations could be verified, and if they're true, and government is there to deal with them objectively, and bring about some kind of a solution, a way forward to the impasse that we have been locked in for the last 22, 23 months now. So, having said that, I am surprised why Kokumi has objected to the peace initiative today. But evidently from the article, it's the reasoning they have about that this issue of illegal immigrants, narco terrorism must be dealt with first before any kind of solution can be discussed or achieved.
Right.
So I'm lost at that point as to, why
Right.
should that matter linger on when it can
Right.
be ascertained and
Right.
and dealt with in that context.
Right. That's a very important point, an important observation. But Dr. Seram, the point is that in the past we have heard that there were some meetings that were held by the uh, members of both the communities, but there was no structured sort of a meet. It seems that now we are looking at a structured meet where a senior official, a retired official, is mediating between the two sides. Do you think that there is a difference between what is happening now and what was happened in the last 2 years? There were efforts made uh, for both the communities to come together and to find a way forward, but it was not so structured, and there would nothing would really come out of it, which one can say is concrete. But what we're looking at now is something different, which can lead to concrete results. Maybe it will take time, but there can be a concrete outcome of all of this.
Uh, uh, I think in the context that we are discussing today, with the reference that the very important meeting held under the initiative of the Minister of Home Affairs with the two communities, it's a welcome step,
Right,
and I think on six agendas actually was put in the discussion. I've spoken with the members who have actually participated in the meeting just
right,
uh, after the talks, and some of them were saying that the meeting started from 11 and it actually took a long time till 4 o'clock, and it
right.
was actually discussed a lot of issues. And one of the very important agenda was actually that the internally displaced people, actually the victims of the violence, should be allowed to rehabilitate with their own
Yeah,
on place, be it in Imphal or be it in Chochampur or Hill district. It was actually a very welcome agenda. Of course, I mean, this is a beginning, and this is actually this should have been done very very long time back. Actually, 2 years past is a very, as many people lost their life, thousands of people living in the and languishing in the relief camp. So actually, this initiative should have been done very very long time back. Not only the civil society group, but also the political parties like the for example the BJP as a ruling party. They should have already organized a meeting with the elected MLAs members, not only under the chairman of the secretary or by the bureaucrat, but also the home minister should be should chair the program, so that every groups actually feel that the all the concerns will be taken care of with a legitimate authority, not by a bureaucrat or something. But we can still welcome the initiative.
yeah,
That is one point. The second point, which of course Mr. Hawking also highlighted, that why one particular big organizations like Kokomi was not actually willing to be part of the meeting, was they have very clearly said that like the government, the role of the government was actually very skeptical from the other side, that it's if the issue is with the restoring rule of law, and what do you say, restoring the constitution of India, and then the government have all the hands and all the mandate to actually enforce rule of law in Manipur. But unfortunately, they are also saying that with the home minister chairing the meeting, last meeting, and also suggesting that from 8 March the free movement will be allowed, and then then like people will feel a little sort of relief
Yeah.
from that thing. But unfortunately, many things happen, and then actually still this is not opening. The free movement is not allowed, and then the some sort of agenda has already been put that the some particular demand, and this should be the agenda to discuss. A lot of things will happen, but having said that, the apex group of the cookie groups, they are now willingly to discuss with the agenda of six topic, and discussing is a welcome step, because at the end of the day we all know that the Manipur is a multicultural society, and the 34 tribes, like including the 9 tribes of Kuki family, and also nearly 14, 15 tribes of the Nagas and Meitei Pangal. It's a multicultural society, and we have to come for reconciliation, and also healing touch of the pay of the what happened. Unfortunate thing happened to the border community, and then forgive and forget is also important, and then and so that we can actually come together and try to find out the solutions, and then most importantly, then the thousands of people living in the relief camp, and then they should be allowed to go to the original places,
Right.
with the protection of their rights, with the
Right.
proper rehabilitation, and also with support from the border communities,
Right.
so that we can rebuild Manipur
Yeah.
and the coexistence,
Right.
and
The
also.
Selin, forgive and forget. That is what Dr. Seram is saying. We know the situation on the ground. There's so much of a polarization that happened in the last 2 years. It's going to be a long process. But is is the ground fertile for a forgive and forget policy to move ahead, to build bridges, at least start baby steps, go from step to step. It may not happen suddenly, it will be a long process, but the fact that two sides are sitting under a common roof and discussing the matter is in itself an achievement.
I think we need to look at this issue more realistically and objectively. Yes, we are under the same roof. And if you look at that, there'll be different views on that roof now. And
Yeah.
this is a reality because of what has transpired in the last 22 months, starting May 2023. Whilst on the one hand, we want reconciliation, on the other hand, there are physical realities that we need to deal with so that people are confident that issues are going to be resolved in a way that will bring security and safety to both communities.
Right.
And in that regard, I've stated earlier also in some other shows, yes, as a human being, in spirit, we would be, one can be in a position to forgive. Forgetting might be difficult, but in this reality, not apportioning blame to anybody, but the reality is for our people, it's physically impossible for us to return to status quo.
Right.
Now you can't move mountains anymore. You know, the
Right.
days of Hanuman is over. Whether
Right.
it's Lodge, I'm just using it as a reference. So
Right.
those realities are what affects the sentiments of the people. We cannot sweep those away under the carpet. Now,
Right.
how do we deal with those realities? Otherwise, we'll not be able to resolve our issues. Now, we cannot shy away from facing the reality while we are staunchly willing to address the issues so that both communities are at peace with themselves and with one another. So, this cannot have a statement of reconciliation viewed in a particular way where the reality is not taken into account. Now, if we have to deal with the issues seriously, we also have to be realistic. And I may draw to the issue in South Africa, in the
Yeah.
apartheid
Yeah.
region.
Yeah.
truth and reconciliation go
Reconciliation.
hand in
Yes.
hand. Otherwise, you can't. You'll be kidding yourself. You'll be kidding other people, and people will not be you can't pull the wool over people's eyes. So, on the one hand, yes, reality has to be dealt with if we want serious resolutions and outcome that will be beneficial to both communities. And therein lies the solution, or true reconciliation, in the sense of we are not going to live as enemies. We
Right.
can't. There's a time to fight, there's a time for peace also, there's a time to sleep, there's a time to work. That's
Yeah.
natural law. And I would say that both communities have their particular perspectives, their beliefs, whatever
Yeah.
rationale they have
Yeah.
about it. Those should be discussed at the table. There'll be issues that we agree to disagree with, and there'll be
Yeah.
issues that we agree not to agree on. And that's life. And at the end of the day, the objective is that both communities should reconcile to their own situation without being a threat or an enemy to the other.
Right.
That's the reality of life. And how do we achieve that? We can only achieve that through dialogue, through
Right.
discussing our issues on a common table, with the clear objective of a solution that will be mutually beneficial. So
Absolutely.
I don't want to engage in wishful thinking. If I do that, I'll be lying to myself and also cheating my own people and trying to convince the other community that I mean well. That doesn't work. We
Yeah.
have to be realistic and we have to be honest. There are a lot of intellectuals, but what is often lacking is intellectual honesty. We need all those virtues from both communities in order to move forward. And we
Right.
have to do this together. We have to talk about it, deal with difficult issues, and celebrate where we can, concur and move
Right.
forward in that way.
Yes, Truth and Reconciliation Commission of South Africa and moving forward. In fact, Home Minister also spoke about Manipur in the parliament. Let's briefly hear a bit of it, what he said about Manipur, before we wrap up our discussion with last thoughts of both of you.
इस संवेदनशील विषय पर मैं राजनीति करना नहीं चाहता था, मगर जिस तरह से मुझे तो आश्चर्य है, 2 साल से इतनी सारी हिंसा होने के बाद विपक्ष ने जिस तरह से बात करी है, मैं आश्चर्यचकित हूं। यहां पर डेरेक ओबेरॉय जी थोड़े इमोशनल हो गए महिलाओं की स्थिति पर। डेरेक साहब, यहां तो जातीय हिंसा हुई थी, दोनों समुदाय आमने सामने भिड़ गए थे, इसमें कई महिलाओं से दुर्व्यवहार हुआ। बंगाल में कुछ नहीं था, सालों तक सैकड़ों बहनों के साथ संदेश खाली में दुर्व्यवहार होता रहा। कुछ नहीं किया आपकी सरकार ने, कुछ नहीं किया। आरजी कार में भी कुछ नहीं किया। आप जवाब नहीं दे सकते। और वो दुर्व्यवहार आपकी ही पार्टी के नेता ने किया था, जिसको आपको सस्पेंड करना पड़ा था। ये ड्यूअल, हम तो ना इसका समर्थन करते हैं ना उसका करते हैं। ये ड्यूअल स्टैंडर्ड लेकर ज्यादा दिन नहीं चल सकते। मान्यवर, ये कहते हैं 250 लोग मारे गए, मैं भी कबूल करता हूं मान्यवर, 260 लोग मारे गए, ये आंकड़ा है, ये सच्चाई है। मगर बंगाल में चुनावी हिंसा में 250 लोग मार दिए गए, यहां जातीय हिंसा में। मान्यवर, बंगाल की जो स्थिति है उसमें तो शायद ये न बोले होते तो थोड़ा ज्यादा अच्छा होता। यहां जातीय हिंसा में मारे गए हैं, वहां तो चुनावी हिंसा में मार दिए गए हैं।
Right. So he's basically drawing comparisons with West Bengal, but also accepting the fact that 260 people have died. Sailen, before we wrap up, what are your last thoughts? You know, what can be the first few steps that can be taken to start with for this process to take momentum and then to take up larger and bigger issues? What can be a couple of basic small steps that can be taken right now?
Okay, the first and foremost is that we live in a nation, we have a government, we are a democracy. The government must be responsible and they're doing their best to bring about a solution to our issues. While they do that, the two communities must also be realistic and come forward and try to resolve issues through dialogue. There's no other way of doing it. We
Yeah,
cannot fight and hope to annihilate the other community. Unfortunately, that's the narrative that has been forthcoming from the very civil society organization, which should be in the forefront of bringing about peace. But those kind of rhetoric might have been stated in a moment of emotional angst or whatever. However, in real terms, both communities must be responsible not for just their politics, but for their respective people and understand that both are of the same humanity and there must be a solution that benefits both communities.
right,
And without that kind of attitude or ideological attachment in terms of belief in human beings and the sanctity of human life, we cannot go forward. We must come to terms with that in ourselves first and then engage with the other community and let the government also do its job. Where they fail, we must be willing to point out this is wrong or
right,
this is right.
right.
Uh, but the onus of responsibility is in three places: the government and the two communities. The three have to interact to find a solution, and there's no other way.
Right.
Thank you.
Dr. Seram, last word to you. Dialogue is the way forward, and there should be a lot of emphasis for dialogue. But we know that once in a while, an incident takes place, and we are back to square one. Do you think there's also need for tolerance, for patience to move ahead on this path of dialogue and reconciliation? Last word to you.
Yeah. In fact, as actually Mr. Hauke was referring, very articulated, like about the accepting the reality, and also like the objective assess of and like the status. We cannot go back to the status quo. Kind of these ideologies are very, very problematic to bring lasting peace in Manipur. Why I'm saying is that the status quo today is that the Meitei, which is actually the total populations, they live in the Central Valley, and in after actually they have been completely wiped out from those hill districts, and the cookies, they are also, some officers are still in Imphal, but many of them are not there. But this cannot be a status quo. This is actually created via violence and some abnormal things. So what, when the moment when we are saying that let's try to bring peace and reconciliation, it actually suggests that the coexistence and the mutual respect and the living together, not in the way that you cannot go to that territory, I cannot go to that territory. In this sense, like for example, the Meitei, I will tell you as a representative, the Meitei will never accept in this status quo, never accept. Why? Because tomorrow, today is the 5th April, tomorrow is the 6th April, there will be a big protest in Jantra Mantra, the Delhi Meitei Coding Committee organizing, saying that actually restoring the, like, less Kobru Kasi. Kobru is the mountain believed by the Meitei, and also the yellow means that the Meitei originated from the Kobru, and thousands years before the valley is under the water and we came down, and we are hill people, and this is a reality. And if any force or violence can try to break between this relationship between the Meiteis and the Kobru, Meiteis and Tangzing, Meiteis and even the Wangbrel in Sandel, this will actually harm the coexistence. Yes, we have to realize that violence cannot reshape the territory. Violence cannot actually bring an agenda. And we all need to realize that both the community have suffered. And now they have to realize that we live together. And also the other issues can be discussed. And the people only living with sectarian way, and then also trying to create a new territory by force or violence cannot be a status quo and a reality. So we have to realize and accept that the Meiteis are also hill people. By the every civilizations come from the hills to the valley,
Yeah.
and also this has to be realized. But
Yeah.
no force cannot change this history. That is
Right.
why the Meitei is strongly saying that, as a believer of the citizen of India, now we believe the government of India that you will protect the life, people, property, border communities, and the free movement, because you cannot
Right.
hijack the national highway and telling that
Right.
this should be our demand, you cannot cross. So that is why Meiteis are still frustrated, and the Kokomi was not part of the meeting, because now the government has to act on that, who are trying to break the constitutions and the rule of
Right.
law. That should be dealt with properly. And of course,
You
their
know,
main
you know, you
among
know,
the Kokomis and
there
Meiteis,
is, there is
they wanted
clearly,
to live peacefully.
there is mistrust what has happened in the last 2 years when you say that Meiteis are the hill people. The cookies can say that they are the valley people as well. They have an equal right to say that. So, of course, it's a long way ahead. You want to
May I,
quickly come in? Say,
may I have a comment
yeah,
or two before
yeah,
we?
yeah,
Uh, I think we need to put things in perspective. As I open my statement saying we are Indian citizens, we live in the same nation, the same country, and any kind of blockade or situation which is abnormal at the moment is because of the present circumstance. There's no such thing as within India that certain areas cannot be accessed by one community and the other likewise. It's,
right,
it's the time at the moment, because of the circumstance, there are constraints because of apprehensions or whatever. That cannot be always.
right,
So we have to look at that perspective very clearly. And with respect to Kobru, I'm from Saitu. Kobru is in Saitu. From my grandfather's days, I remember as a child, our Valley brothers used to come up for their pilgrimage, and there was never any problem. And the only problem now is because of the unusual
yeah,
situation.
situation, right,
And that is not the status quo. The status quo is
right,
there's free movement. The
absolutely.
not
And
free movement as it stands now is because of the present crisis. And that sooner we resolve our issues and come to an understanding, that normalcy will return. Now, how
absolutely,
we arrive at that position is more important. Nobody is saying you cannot come here, I cannot go
right,
there. We
yeah.
have to be aware of that perspective, please.
Yes, and of course, it's going to be a long road, which will not be so easy. It needs a lot of tolerance and patience from both the sides to go step by step in the direction of peace and reconciliation. And at the end of the day, it's the state where people have been living for hundreds of years, and they will continue to live there, and they'll have to live together in peace and harmony. That's the mission, and that should be the aim for everybody. Thanks so much, Selin, and thanks so much, Dr. Siram, for joining us and for sharing your thoughts. And thanks to our audiences for watching the Mojo Story.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.